Okay, looks like this is being streamed live, which is good because this is my fourth time trying to do this, and I really hope that it works. My name is Nandini. It's the middle of the night right now as I am watching this and talking to you. And the reason for that is, oh, you won't be able to hear. Okay. There are firecrackers in the background. It's the middle of the night here in India. It is Diwali season. Kind of, a bit of a crazy time in terms of the atmospheric pollution levels and other things happening in my life. So I've been feeling a lot of anxiety. And it's weird because it's conditioned anxiety. There's nothing actually present in my environment as such that's making me feel anxious. However, there are certain stimuli in the environment that when they had originally occurred in the past, I had felt extreme levels of stress and anxiety. And even though that happened several years ago, here I am here 31st October 2024 feeling all out of sorts, not waking up, sleeping at odd hours, haven't cooked in a very long time, eating a whole bunch of junk food. And I am literally acting like my most traumatized self. And the reason for that, according to Joe Dispenza's book, Breaking the Habit of Being You, is because we are used to our body produces certain chemicals in response to certain things. It's very Pavlovian, right? If you've heard of Pavlov's theory, the way that he trained the dog, he rang the bell. So okay, in case if you don't know about the Pavlovian conditioning theory, um, he had a dog, and what he did was, every time he would take out some food for the dog to eat, he would also ring a bell, right? I'm just taking a look at the chat here. I think only one person is watching right now. Oh, two people are watching. Hello, hello, welcome, 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 welcome. Leave your comments in the chat. So I was talking about Pavlov's theory, right? So what he did was he had a dog and he was a psychologist, right? He wanted to learn about conditioned responses. And every time he put out a bowl of food for the dog to eat, he would ring a bell and the dog would hear the bell, smell the food, and come running the dog would start to salivate, right? Saliva, it would produce saliva and eat the delicious food. Now, Pavlov did that, rang the bell, gave the food, rang the bell, gave the food every time for a number of times. And then what he did one day was he rang the bell, the dog came running and started to salivate, even though there was no food. Now, that is a very clear way for us to know and understand, bro. Yeah, we're also like that. We're no different from a dog. So, whenever we're having some sort of response, which is like really weird and out of sorts, we're just like, wait a second, why am I suddenly feeling anxious? Hold on, am I starting to get depressed again? Why is it? It might be because the body is producing chemicals because of certain stimuli in your environment that it had to produce those chemicals for in the past. So it learned that this is how the body must act. Now, guess what? We are not doomed, right? It's not like this conditioning that this training is there going to be there for the rest of our lives. We can change our minds. We can change our bodies and our habits and our minds. Okay, that is what neuroplasticity is. That is what it means to, basically change who you are and change a particular response. And, I myself am a mindset transformation coach. I'm a life coach. And even within this book, I've been reading a lot more, I've always read books on psychology, but it's so interesting because ever since I got into the life coaching field, I've been like, bro, therapists and psychologists. I'm not talking about psychiatrists. I think that's, a very different things. But a lot of therapists and counselors, okay? Therapists and counselors and really, really good life coaches are basically doing the same thing. They genuinely are. They're talking about the same thing, they're doing the same thing. I'm sorry, sometimes the camera just keeps breaking. I need to figure out There's something wrong with the settings, but I will keep an eye on it, okay? So, but I hope you can still hear me. If you can't, oh, hello? Talking about the same thing. Okay, yes, you can. Okay, that's good. All right. So what can we actually do about it? When we realized, okay, this anxiety I'm feeling right now, it's not because of anything in my environment. Wait a second, it's because a few years ago or last year at this time, with this season, with this weather, at this festival, I was feeling really anxious because of A, B, C, D. So first things first, awareness, right? We've got to always start with awareness. We've got to become aware. Wait a second, this anxiety, what is causing it? What's causing it? Let's focus on the cause. If the cause is something that we can act upon, if there really is something that's causing us anxiety, it's our responsibility to deal with it, right? If that means that you have to have a tough conversation with somebody, um, if you have to set some boundaries with somebody or something or with your work, it's important to do that. On the other hand, what I'm talking about here is conditioned anxiety, where our body gets really, 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 really worried and tired and is basically shutting down. But the reason actually has nothing to do with your present. It's because the body did this as a practice because the conditions, like it's thinking that the conditions are matching the same conditions of the past where that anxiety was needed by the body, right? It was needed. Obviously, we don't need anxiety, but it's a stress response. So there were some very high stress situations that caused that, right? So what can we actually do? That's what I'm here to talk about. And actually, I wasn't actually planning for this to be like, some sort of talkie training session. I have a bag here in my lap. And what I was supposed to be doing is just chatting on here while removing a few stitches of embroidery that I've been meaning to remove for the last 10 to 11 months, and I didn't get around to it. So I thought this would be a good time for me to be doing this while speaking to you because I find speaking to be mildly relaxing. Okay, it's not as relaxing as writing. Writing can also be stressful when I'm writing about things very deliberately, journaling, right? But anyway, step one was awareness. Step two, which actually is kind of inspired by what I'm reading here. I wouldn't say these are the same steps that Joe Dispenza talks about because I'm only a part way through this book right now. Is it worth reading? It is worth reading if you've never done any life coaching or mindset training because it basically outlines exactly the same thing. So I'm not necessarily learning much that's new, but it's nice to know that the things that I have learned and that I teach people to do is backed up by science. Some science, like even the science, it's very like quantum field and use your mind and stuff. It's very like manifesty and pseudosciency, but yeah, it's good enough. It's called Breaking the Habit of Being You by Dr. Joe Dispenza. I'm sorry for moving that around too much. So, so we talked about awareness and, realizing, and then of course, if you genuinely have things in your life that are causing you anxiety at this time, dealing with them in a manner that is good for you. But if you realize, whoa, I'm still anxious or I am anxious and it doesn't have to do with anything right now, I think I know why this is. Like for me, a few years ago, this was the time when my dad got very sick. Literally this day, a few years ago. Another thing is happening right now in my life, which is like like even thinking about it right now is bringing tears and to my eyes and such fear to my being. So I am aware that there are things happening in my life right now which are so hard for me to take, which is why I'm feeling anxious. But they're not actually happening here right now in this moment. I'm actually genuinely protected from them. But they're happening, but they're not happening. They're happening, but they're not happening. This is the power of the mind. It really is the power of the mind. When you're in a state of anxiety, keep like one important thing is you have to be very aware that you are in a state of anxiety, but at the same time, you're not allowed to use that as an excuse to snowball that little anxiety into something massive. No. First things first, after awareness. Second thing, deal with it. Third thing is to choose a different thought, choose a different action. Okay, that is what you have to do. You have to choose a different thought, a different action which doesn't fit the anxiety ridden self. The self, the person you are when you're anxious, choose a different action. It's gonna be really hard. It literally is gonna be as hard as, let's say, if you've ever like ridden a bicycle and you're taking a very steep curve, right? Like you're like riding the bicycle and you're curving, and then mid-curve you're thinking, "Oh no, no, I need to go in that direction." So it's gonna be jerky. It's gonna take a lot of effort. It's gonna be something that makes you feel even worse, perhaps, as you're starting to do something different. But that would be a good reminder for your body to just be like, yo, guess what? We're safe right now. We're choosing different. We are safe. And when I say we, I'm saying like, it's you, your mind talking to your body. Always, also, I recommend somatic practices. There are different stretches you can do, different yoga asanas that you can do. Even sleeping with a weighted blanket or something that you can hold and cuddle is important. Making sure that you have very safe touch with your body can also be very soothing, right? It can be very soothing. And while you're doing this, while you're like, um, rubbing your arms, or like my dad's favorite was like he used to come home from work and he used to like just sit down on the couch, and then I can't really do it properly with this crown, but he used to just like rub his head. After a long day of work, he used to come sit down on the couch and he would just rub his head like that. He would do it for a good 5 minutes, I think. And then he would get up and he would start on his chores, right? So even that is just so soothing, just to like rub your own forehead, rub your own hair. It's a great practice to just let your body know, I'm here for you. I'm here for you and you are safe. I am here for you and you are safe. I am here for you and you are safe. And we're changing our energy, we're changing our thoughts. We are getting rid of this state of being anxious. This feeling of anxiety, it's just a conditioned response, right? It's just a conditioned response, and we can choose to do something differently. And just so you know, when you decide to make that choice, please don't put pressure on yourself and start feeling angry and guilty if you don't change immediately. It might take a good 20 minutes for you to start feeling better. For me, I started listening to songs that I rarely listen to, but which really brought a joyful, youthful rhythm to my body. The other thing I did was I realized I was spending a lot of time in bed. I was even working in bed, I was studying in bed, I was eating in bed, I was doing everything in bed. So I literally just got myself out of my bed and I started folding some clothes and putting them in the closet while listening to the music. All of a sudden, my body was ready to wash the dishes. My body was ready to do something that was out of bed. Like, sorry, out of being in bed. Because the bed is that comforting space, but that's also the space that I spent the most time anxious in. So it's this balance of soothing yourself enough to shift that energy and not to be in that cyclical spiral of the same actions, the same anxiety, the same response, action, response, action, response. Nuh-uh. We're breaking the cycle. We're breaking the habit. We're breaking the habit of being anxious. Okay, that's what we're trying to do here. Another thing, very, very important, the words that are going on in your mind, the stories you are telling yourself, the memories that you're bringing up. I'm not telling you to not think the thoughts. Write them down, journal them, process them, and then let them go and decide what your next thought is going to be. One of the best things somebody ever said to me in the book club, actually. I think they said it in the book club, and they also said it in one of my recent trainings. Someone, like two people said, you can never choose your first thought, but you can choose your second thought and your third thought, right? If your mind is going down some like anxious spiral, let it go down there, but don't stay there. Just be like, ah, no wonder I'm thinking that I'm anxious. Okay, I hear you. I hear you. Do we need to process that a little more? If we do, okay, time to journal, time to maybe talk out loud. I know some people, they don't like to write. They're even fearful that if they write something and someone finds it, it will just like cause a bad situation at home, right? So even the act of just talking, I would also recommend, if you like this, sending voice notes to yourself, and then if you feel like it, deleting them. Okay, if you don't feel safe to have those voice notes. Personally, I don't really like technology to know, all those icky thoughts and stuff. I'd much rather pen them down in on paper. Oh, and sometimes I type as well. Sometimes when I'm in flow, like, the thoughts are flowing, the ideas are flowing, sometimes poetry comes out. Sometimes it's like lyrics trigger something and, I start to type. That's also good. So process it, release it, and then choose the next move. Choose the next move. And the next move cannot be aligned with the anxiety energy. It has to be aligned with the most powerful, most loving you being in charge. We all have all of these different personalities. This is the reason why I love the movie Inside Out 2. Highly, highly recommend Inside Out 2. In case you haven't watched it, please, please do. Somehow. It is one of the best, literally one of the best films I have ever seen when it just comes to anything, to be honest. It just is one of the best films. Full stop. But what makes it even better is for anyone who cares about themselves and cares to improve themselves and their lives. I cannot recommend that movie enough because it literally brings life through animated characters, obviously. It brings life to the fact that we are beings that have so many different facets of us that are constantly competing to take control of us. There's joy in us that sometimes drives us, especially as children. Children are very driven by curiosity, by joy, by experience, by touch, by taste. They're very sensory beings, by color, by light, by cute images or pretty images. They're constantly chasing their desires, they're constantly chasing their pleasures without fear. And that's why they're able to achieve so much. That's why they have so much vital energy inside them, because it's like, oh my gosh, like, they come home from school and they can literally, like, they run as soon as they come home from school to get the snack, or they run to the TV remote, or they run to start playing games or whatever it is. Like, there's always something that they want. And for them, it's not like, should I not, should I not? No, that's a very like, nah, that's a very non-child thing, is to overthink and everything, right? So, who is going to be in charge once we decide to let anxiety release control of us? Is it going to be the responsible person? Are they actually, if anxiety's been driving this car of yourself, who is the best person to take over the steering wheel? Well, I shouldn't say person. Which aspect of you should be taking control? For me, sometimes it's my creativity. Sometimes it is my more social side. And right now, it's sort of a speaking teaching side, right? I've been really anxious for several days now. I've been insanely overwhelmed. Like, Um, and at the same time, I've been trying to do some work on my business. I have been doing virtually nothing else except just being anxious and watching a whole lot of stuff. Just doing the things I do when I'm anxious is what I was doing. And then I was just like, bruh, nah. It's time to change. Time to change right now. And please give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. It's okay if anxiety gets back in control after 20 minutes. It's okay. It's a practice. It's a practice. Everything is a practice. It's much like literally it's like playing badminton, for example. When you play badminton, you're not going to make all the shots perfectly. It's not going to be a rally. At some point, the shuttlecock is going to drop, and you're going to have to bend down and pick it up again and strike it again. And that's what it's like with your mind and with your emotions. There have to be dips. It's part of being alive, right? But a great part of having that control and feeling like you are in control is holding on to the truth. And that is that you always have choice. You can choose your thoughts. When you choose your thoughts, you can also choose your actions because thoughts create actions, right? Choose your thoughts, let those better thoughts affect better actions, and break the habit of being anxious. Break the habit of the condition anxiety. Okay, I think that's that. This is very much like my usual Saturday lives, but I ended up doing it on a Thursday, I believe. And that's good because I haven't been posting very much, and that's because I am working on a whole new channel, a whole new program on money. And if you want to learn more, obviously stay tuned to figuring it out alive. But in the description, oh, actually, I cannot see it in the description right now. But there's a new channel. There's gonna be a new channel, new Instagram page, new a whole bunch of new stuff, okay? And like even just talking about it, you could see my energy. I'm feeling so hyped, so excited about launching something that will be of immense value to you. It's gonna be around money to start off. Okay, we're gonna do a course on money, to up level our money energy, to attract money effortlessly with ease, just to feel abundant and prosperous. Let go of scarcity, let go of anxiety in a way that is respectful to those parts of us. Okay? So I'm excited to bring that to you. So stay subscribed to this and subscribe to the new channel called Success with Nandini. I'm going to put it in the description of this channel. I'm sending you a whole lot of love and me also a whole lot of love. Give yourself some hugs right now. And yeah, have a beautiful time, whatever you're doing. Even if it's not a beautiful time for you, I'm just sending you that love. I'm sending it to you. Thank you. Take care. And I'm off. How do I get